Joel Cermelli was on the program, and he was talking to us about all these weird subspecies of fish that are not really
snakehead,
sport
bowfin,
fish.
stuff like that.
That he's fishing and having a wonderful time with. And most people, totally
frown
ignore them.
at it, yeah.
From that conversation, he said, you guys ought to have on this guy. He's a buddy of mine. His name is Tyler Winter. He is the king of all things abnormal in terms of sport fishing world.
And I just started fishing wherever I could. And I was fishing in a ditch in southern Minnesota, middle of cornfield, and fishing for carp, fishing for whatever I could. And I caught a fish that I had no idea what it was. It was a moon eye, and it was bright silver. It had teeth on its tongue. It came jumping out of the water, and I didn't know what it was. None of my uncles, who knew everything, knew what it was. And that fish convinced me that there were still mysteries, even in the ditches in Minnesota.
Most of the game fish that we deem to be sporty are also very good table fare. Mm-hmm. I can't say that for a whole lot of these coarse fish.
They're just a little bony. But of course, if you don't like bones in your food, you can always have tofu.
Well said. This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio is brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Centre, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, rent the boat, own the memories. J&B Cycle and Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment. And Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Outdoor Journal Radio, the podcast. Peter Bowman over there.
Well, hello, everybody.
Angelo Biola here. Put another log in that fire, kid.
Come on now.
Well, look at us. We got the winter clothing on. It must be cool here in the studio.
Give me a hell yeah.
They play a lot with the thermostats in this building. I have to say the employees and one of the bosses play a lot.
We should have a fireplace right here, and then we could just
that
literally
would be nice,
we could
wouldn't it?
throw a log on there.
That would be so nice.
Over there is Vova. I'm not sure what he is doing.
He's in a
Come
t-shirt,
on now.
so he's totally different than what we are. Let's see if they wrote
But
it
he
down.
is in charge of cameras, so whatever
director of
he's doing,
photography.
whatever he's doing. It involves
He's the DOP.
cameras. And Nicky V, look at him. He's in
Got
the
headphones
house.
on.
Give me a hell yeah.
Got his nice little cappuccino with him there.
Oh, probably
He does. Look at it.
talking to somebody on the internet. And Dino.
He just gave you a look. Look at
Come
the
on
look.
now.
Just keep that look.
Taylor.
Look at Nick. You got to look at Nick right now. He is giving you the look.
That scares me a lot. Good thing you're here beside me to protect me from that.
Here it comes.
Wonderful program today, folks.
You think you could go, Nick? You think you can still take him?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Give me a hell yeah.
Oh, hell
Easy?
yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, don't even like it. It's not even questionable.
What would be your line of offense?
Total insanity.
But what happens when you gas out of the insanity?
I won't, but that's the beauty of the insanity part. When you put yourself in that mode, you don't gas out.
Would it be?
And Nick knows that.
Would it
That's
be
why he would never
wrestling
challenge
oriented
me.
or
No,
stand-up
just,
fighting oriented?
Whatever comes next.
Biting
Kick
and
to the
pulling
nuts?
hair.
I'm not
Kick
really
to the
sure.
nuts always
I don't
works
know.
in a young guy like that, big young guy like that, right? So my problem is
Like
I can't
chopping
reach him.
down a tree.
He's too high to kick.
I'll hold you up to him. Sorry about that. Welcome to the show. Wonderful episode as per usual. A very interesting, fascinating guest and a wonderful subject matter. It was referred to us a few weeks ago on a podcast that we did with Joe Cermelli. For those of you who remember, do we know what number that episode was, by the way?
Well, we're recording
Episode 2 ago.
Yeah,
So
Maybe
episode
one
two
episode
ago.
ago.
One or two
One
ago.
episode ago.
Episode 2, go
one
one, two.
There you go.
Joe Cermelli was on the program, and he was talking to us about all these weird subspecies of fish that are not really
Snakehead,
sport fish.
bowfin, stuff like that.
That he's fishing and having a wonderful time with.
Yeah.
And most people, totally
Frown
ignore
at
them.
it, yeah.
From that conversation, he said, you guys ought to have on this guy. He's a buddy of mine. His name is Tyler Winter. He is the king of all things abnormal in terms of sport fishing
on now.
world.
I love it. All things
In fact,
abnormal.
He is the director at Native Fish for Tomorrow, and they've got a native fish bill that they're trying to move through that proposes. It's in Minnesota. Proposes to define native rough fish category of fish as 26 species. So I guess right now there is no native, and there isn't. We know that for a fact here in Canada.
Right.
You know,
even there's a strong fishery for common carp, but they're not a game fish.
They're not even a game
right?
fish. So therefore, when they're not game fish, it means that nobody can put rules and regulations on them.
That's right.
And it's kind of a weird deal. So this Tyler Winter, who's joined us in a few moments, he's going to tell us why it's important that we all sort of get on the bandwagon and start looking at these species.
Well, you know what? Anything we've ever caught that was weird, odd, and different, we've had fun with. Oh. You and I both. We've been experienced together and separate, you know what I mean?
That you could think. Can you think of a non-game fish that you would, if given the opportunity, that you would not want to?
Yeah, not really. No, the ones that I've caught were great. I mean, they fight like crazy. A dogfish is a perfect example. A bowfin is a perfect example.
Those things are insane.
You know, those things that you catch them just like when you're bass fishing using bass tactics. So why wouldn't that be a viable game fish? But
and
anyway,
it's
interesting.
Dean, maybe what we could do is find out who's in charge out there that makes the definition game fish work. In other words, somebody has come up with that moniker and said, all right, in order to be in this club, you have to have or do or look
club.
or whatever.
I'm a largemouth bass.
I
I'm
want
in the club.
Exactly. I want to know who that person is. Get them on the show. I want to find out.
Well, it's provincial for sure because it changes from province to province.
Right.
So like certain things that might be a game fish here aren't elsewhere.
Give me an example. Do you have
I think chain pickerel here are sport fish. Like they have regulations, I think, but in New Brunswick they wouldn't.
I don't know if they do here or not.
I don't think so.
I think Quebec might, but
I don't think they're either. I don't think they're either.
I thought I've seen chain pickerel regulations, but I could be wrong.
Personally, from what little experience I've had, it's a federal thing and it's a DFO thing. And the provinces can't even, we know this because Peter and I worked on the common carp thing for a number of years. And I remember the Ontario MNRF people were looking at getting it categorized as a sport fish, but could not do so without DFO jumping in and saying, okay, let me get my book here. All right, I'm signing off on it. So I think it's a federal thing.
Yeah, it could be.
And that's who you need to dig into this.
Yeah, we should
because across
take it on.
But across the board, if you look at carp are in Manitoba for sure.
Common carp. We're talking common
yeah,
carp,
yeah.
not to be confused
Yeah,
with.
a common carp are in Manitoba. They're in Quebec. I don't know how far east after Quebec they go.
I don't think they are.
They are in BC for sure. Vic has told us about them there, and there's no regs on any of them in any province that we know of. So,
Right. Are they
so
in
it could be.
BC?
Yep.
No.
like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Okanagan or something.
I don't know where he was, but Vic said Vic Carroll, a guy that we know from BC, he sent me a video one time, and he was kayaking with his wife, and in this little swampy area, and these things were flipping and flopping all over, like spawning carp do, whatever. Yeah. And he said, "These are carp." I said, "No way." He says, "Yeah, they were loaded over here." And I don't know what body of water that was, but he was definitely in BC. He said,
I never heard that.
"Yeah."
Make another note to yourself. Dean, Christmas is coming. We could get one of those dictating machines, right? Where you don't have to write anymore. You can just.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you turn it on, you talk into the mic, and it records all.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll put it on my list.
Make a note to reach out to our good friend Vic Carroll from BC.
Yep.
Get him on the show. He's fascinating.
We've tried to have him on before.
Did we?
Or have we had him? No, we
No,
haven't had
never.
him.
I think we must have
Never.
had. Come on.
I'm telling you.
Come on now.
Wow.
I had him on
probably
radio.
have.
Yeah.
I've done radio with him, but never.
Wow,
on the
that's
show.
a shame. We need Vic on.
We
the
need
show.
him on the show.
People
So-
just from sturgeon fishing to everything he does.
Oh, my God.
The baits that he uses.
Oh.
Ditchy eels. What was he calling them?
Ditchy eels.
Hooligans or whatever they got.
ditchy,
They got
I
all
don't
kinds
know.
of stuff
Yeah.
they're using out there for bait. He's got some great stories.
Anyways, put him on your list.
Yeah, I got him.
But on this show, we're going to be speaking to Tyler Winter here in a few moments, who will bring us up to speed on the non-sport fishing sport of fishing. How's that? Because
That's a good name for the show.
Yeah, there you go. Non-sport fishing for
Non-sport
I don't know.
That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
Before we do any of that, though, how about? I think the 24 season, the Fishing Canada show, I think is pretty much that one. We pretty much stabbed that one to death.
Well, I think they should watch that because they need to get caught up for what our new season's going to be, you know?
What are you saying, that people aren't watching it now?
No, they
I'm
are.
saying they are.
I'm saying the 24 season is pretty much in our rearview mirror, buddy. We should be talking about the upcoming 2025 exciting
Give me a hell yeah!
new season afoot.
Well, we're editing as we. There's two doors. There's a guy right next door to us right now that is doing his best to get that beautiful subject all prettied up for us prettied up so that we can
Some
get it out
wonderful
on the.
episodes.
Yeah, we got some great episodes, and there's some giant pike in Northwest Territories coming up.
I did a read for that show that I was unfortunately not there for in Fredericton, New Brunswick, where the whole crew was fishing.
Right. Yes,
I
you were
was
scheduled. You
green,
kind of got
with envy.
You got called away on that shoot. You did the read yesterday, did you? Yeah. So
I did the read yesterday, and I was all
Very-
excited because I wasn't there. And as I'm reading this thing, I'm thinking, "Wow, this is a good episode."
I'm going to say this is a first, really.
Yeah.
For that many hosts, co-hosts, let's say, and you not involved, like you're going to voice it, but so you are involved, and we do have a piece on the musky stuff in there with you in it, but from
39th season is afoot, I guess what I was trying to say, and that is the 2025.
an old foot. That's pretty
is
old
afoot.
foot, isn't it?
The 39th consecutive season of broadcast for the Fishing
gotta
Canada
be
show,
something-
which,
that's something
kiddies,
else, man. That's something else.
I could do the math, like they say.
Last year was 38?
I can't count, but I could sure add. That means that not too far down the road is the 40th season of the
Give me
Fishing
a hell
Canada
yeah!
show.
So we're gonna film one more year. We're gonna keep at her for a bit.
We've got the commitment till at least one more.
Woohoo!
One more must be done, my friend.
Okay, there you heard it first
So-
from the boss, everybody. 40th year.
So, special anniversary, 40th anniversary season.
So at 1 year from today,
Yes,
when we're
we'll
doing a
be talking,
podcast, we are
yes.
going to be hyping the hell out of that.
We may
right
be
there.
drinking and smoking cigars for all I know.
Oh, buddy!
I'm just saying.
Now
I'm just
you're
saying.
talking my language.
I'm just saying. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yes,
There's
sir.
a lovely countess walking through the scene.
Speaking
Come
of
on
drinking
now.
and smoking cigars,
yeah.
you know.
Speaking of drinking whiskey and smoking cigars, very well put, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, thank you.
Where was I?
She's gonna kill me, by the way.
Fishing Canada, the store, shop.Fishing Canada store. And the reason I bring that up is because you can see in the background here these two lovely gentlemen sporting the, what is this? This is the Classic.
The classics, yep.
Nick's got to go. He's got stuff to do, so he's on the road again.
The Countess call you, Nick?
yeah.
Okay.
So-
she's docking my pay for that wicked slag that I just gave her. Nick, how much should I take off his check?
So there you go. That's the Classic look.
Yes, sir.
Now,
with of course the Christmas hats and stuff, so
that's
it's
true.
a holiday
That's
look
true.
too.
That's true.
For those of you that aren't on
Now,
YouTube right now,
I
and
wish I
listening.
had have worn my walleye,
Classic.
Fishing Canada walleye.
Yeah, I've been telling you to wear that one, and then I didn't even use the picture of it today.
Oh my!
Oh my!
I have it sitting in.
Oh boy!
I have
boy,
it
we
sitting
got-
in my office.
We have a failure to communicate on this show,
Do
my
we ever?
friends.
Anyways,
That's
all
okay. I
this
can remember
lovely-
without anything. I can remember with just a regular black T-shirt, thinking, "What the hell?"
All this lovely stuff is available on Fishing Canada, the shop.fishingcanada.com or fishingcanada.com, and then just push the store icon
There you go,
on
right
the top
there. Look at
ribbon,
that, Fishing Canada.
along with a multitude of other products that are
Like
perfect.
how to find smallmouth bass too in there, right? Look at those weed types and how to fish them. Wow,
I'm
those guys
still-
got a lot of stuff on there.
I'm still talking about stuff, and he's
Okay.
already moved me.
I know,
He wants
but,
to move me along.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that all the new stuff is on there, Dean. All the new. You haven't even seen
I haven't
the
seen
new.
it. They come in today, apparently.
The new species.
Come on.
I'm
Are they in
telling you.
today?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Wow, we're gonna have a big ad in the Outdoor Canada magazine coming out to show the
I
stuff.
haven't
to
even
folks.
seen that ad. Is it nice? Did you do a
it's
nice job?
wonderful.
Is it- Okay. Because my
Wonderful.
colleagues were asking me this morning in your absence, hey, do you think we could have a look at the ad that's going on? I said,
Everybody saw it.
Mr.
Everybody
Bowman,
saw it.
nobody saw it. And Mr.
Don't
Bowman
give me
is
that.
in charge of
That's
that.
a bunch of.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Thank you, Jim.
I can only go by
Thank you,
what
Jim.
I'm told. Okay. So, Go to fishingcanada.com and you will see what we're talking about because it is all on display there, ready to go.
Is it up there now? The new stuff?
Maybe.
When this comes out, it really should be there.
Obviously, it should be. Nick, you got some work to do, buddy. He's doing it right now.
Listener feedback.
Listener feedback in response to our Fishing Canada episode on the importance of weed growth. Is there a name on this one? No, I don't see a name on this one.
Dean, he
wanted
was busy.
There we go.
They wanted to
He was
remain
busy.
anonymous.
He was a little busy. When
Ange
he
is
wrote
on
this
to
up.
Dean's ass bad today, folks. Just to let everybody know.
He's a little tied up.
Ange just got Dean like just, he's all frazzled now.
So this was left on a short, like a comment on these little short videos we've been doing.
Okay.
No, you found this somewhere in a hotel bathroom or something on the wall, and you thought, "Wow, this would make a really."
I thought, I don't want to
interesting-
reveal who
Was
this
there a
person
phone number?
is.
Was there a phone number involved or anything? No. Thank you.
In response to episode Importance of Weed Growth, I don't know how I ended up here. I never
there you
fished
go. That's exactly what I said. It was on the bathroom wall.
When
and
I was sitting on the shitter, I read on the bathroom wall.
Exactly.
I've never fished with a rod and reel. Oh, there's something different for us, for sure. But as an aquarist, aquarium person,
He's
obviously.
aquarium person.
Aquarist.
Aquarist.
Where there's cover, there's fish. Well said. And where the plants are is where the crayfish and snails are found.
Which in turn
absolutely.
would have
We agree 100%.
the apex predator not far from that, right? And we talk about that all the time. And it's funny that we're making a joke out of this, but this is a really good
It's
point.
just a great statement. True.
For those of you who have aquariums and are into fish, both salt and freshwater, everything that we talk about in terms of how and when and where to catch fish, that book is available right in your aquarium. You just look into that aquarium, and everything that we talk about is exactly what's going on.
Just study your fish and what they do on a daily basis. A fish is a fish, really. And I mean, some of them have different feeding patterns, but not a lot. You know what I mean? They all kind of basically have the same. So, and they're attracted to the same stuff. So that's a good point.
Except for the dreaded grass carp.
He's got a little bit different of a feeding habits, that one, right?
Speaking
of aquatic plants.
We have a new message right here.
Do say.
Brought to you by the Invasive Species Centre.
Nice.
And it starts off by saying, did you know that grass carp have the potential to negatively impact popular sport fish such as northern pike, walleye, smallmouth bass, and yellow perch? Well, yes. The answer to that is yes. Of course, we all know that. We've been preaching that tune now for some time.
We sure have.
Well, then, join the Invasive Species Centre for a grass carp information session.
Nice.
January 28th of 2025.
2-aught. I love that, buddy.
2025.
2-aught.
Yeah. From 6 to 9 p.m. at the Windsor Sportsman's Club in, obviously, Windsor, Ontario. For those of you from that area, it might be a real fun evening to go and join up with like-minded folks, talk some fishing, but also talk about this invasive species.
We know some Windsor boys that'll be there for sure. We know a few of them that'll
big time.
Be there.
There'll be booths, expert presentations, and a nice Q&A session where you can actually talk and ask all of those burning questions that you've been sitting on. Listening to these announcements, you'll have professionals, not goons like us, who actually can. You resemble that remark?
At least we're passionate.
Yes, we are.
We're passionate about it.
Not good at reading ads, but we can.
No, you're excellent because you're making it kind of very ad liberal.
Those who attend. Did you say ad liberal?
I said ad liberal.
Don't get me started. Okay, right now I'm a little. That's a bit of a sore point.
I know. I hear you, buddy.
Those who
I
attend
apologize.
can enjoy compliment. Here you go, Dino. You might want to take a drive down there for this. Can enjoy complimentary food and refreshments.
I'm there.
Complimentary food and refreshments.
Why did you put Dino on the spot?
Well,
there?
Dino, the thing about Dino when it's time for Dino to participate in a meal,
right?
He gets very focused all of a sudden. Did you not notice?
Well,
Like
dude, have you seen the guy? He's always working out. He's always
It's
and he's eating low fat protein-rich foods that don't really last a lot in your system, so you're out of it quick and you're into the next hunger phase. And the dude is
I think he's
a
been
monster.
telling you fibs because Dino will eat
I eat
just
a lot
about.
He's the shite too.
Oh,
bits
Dino likes the shite. Trust me. Okay, Dino will eat
of
just about it.
Timbits.
Him and Nick are very similar. In
Nick rewrote the book on eating the shite for sure.
It's
But-
unbelievable. And
and
the thing about
surviving on
Nick,
it.
Nick, what I love about Nick though is that as he's eating that crap,
Yes.
as not like after or post or pre, as he's eating it
In the moment.
he's telling you that I might have gotten food poisoning from something I ate earlier on today. Meanwhile, he's shoving carcinogenic, arsenic-filled casserole dish of bacteria into his body. He says, "Yeah, I think maybe
I
I
feel a
ate
little bit
something.
off."
Yeah, I feel." Oh God, help me.
poor,
Anyways.
poor agentcarp.ca people are going, what
So
the
for
hell?
those of you who attend, you can enjoy wonderful complimentary food and beverage.
With
I'm not
Dean.
sure
With Dean.
what the refreshments are, but
It's not going to be free booze. Don't say that it's not going to be free booze. Nobody does
saying
that.
Are you going to be there, Dean? Because if we knew you were going, we could probably announce that, and that there'd be people showing up if you were going.
Yeah, I'll be there.
See,
I'll be
Dean will
there.
be there. See, That's
Wow.
wonderful.
Boy, did we ever make a decision there real
So
quick.
Dino will be there as well, and he will be staying at the Cloverleaf Motel just off to the side. For those of you who might
Maybe
be
changed the name of that. It's not
interested.
Cloverleaf anymore.
What is it?
I think it's just the Oshawa.
Have a nap?
It's the
Yeah,
Oshawa
have a nap.
Hotel.
That's another. That's my
It's-
second favorite.
I don't know what it is. But it's not Cloverleaf anymore. They changed it. I
Maybe
know
it's
that.
a have a nap. It's a chain of small 2-room operations. But hang on. I mean, if that wasn't enough to get you there, once we threw Dean into the mix, okay?
Yes.
If that wasn't enough to get you, for you folks in the Windsor area, to get you to the Windsor Sportsman Club, and that, once again, is January 28th of 2025 in the new year. If that wasn't enough to get you to the Windsor Sportsman Club on that evening, enough being that Dean will be there, enough that you'll have complimentary food and refreshments, complimentary. You have a chance to win a Yeti backpack cooler valued at 400 buckaroos.
Give me a hell yeah!
Now that's worth it right there, huh?
Come on.
Why not? They've been good with that, the Invasive Species Centre. Remember they were giving prizes away at that last one we went to in Belleville? They give a lot of prizes
nice
away in that too.
prizes.
So yeah, they're very good at that. Excellent.
So
Well
whether
done.
you're a seasoned angler like Mr. Bowman, or just starting out, and are passionate about protecting Canadian great outdoors and Great Lakes in particular, take this session in. You will enjoy it.
Bring
Mark it in your
a friend
calendars.
or a family member too.
Hell, bring the whole-
because the anglers know a little more than maybe the average person does. They don't know about it either, but it's just good eye-opening experience and learning. So
And what's nice about it is that you are with like-minded folks. There's nothing
Yes.
like, being in a room with people who think like you do.
yep.
Because God only knows.
Remember
And
that one we went to, all the commercial fishermen were there, and
Yeah,
they gave
it
us
was
input
great.
that we had never heard before, stuff like that. So these are very informative meetings.
So come on, kiddies, get that crayon out. Mark it down as January 28th, 2025, coming up at 6 p.m. Starts at 6 p.m. and it goes all the way through till 9, although I'm sure if it's like the one we attended, it'll run well past 9 o'clock because of all the questions and things. And it's at the Windsor Sportsman Club. We may even, I could be wrong, Dean, but we may, now that we know that you're going, we may want to post this somewhere and let people know that it's happening.
We'll post on the website for sure.
So Dino will see you there. He'll be the guy at the front when they call, they ring the bell and they say, okay, now come up. People from the left side of the room, you can come up and start Dino will be the first one who's at the front of the line. Check him out.
Dino rhymes with Reno.
What's in the news?
Remember?
Oh, don't.
Reno was the best buffet liner ever. He was a line dancer for sure. In the news, walleye.
I've seen him body check 85-year-old
I know you told me
women.
about that, and I turned around and I said, no, can't be. And then I saw the lady laying on the floor. I thought, holy shit.
85-year-old woman body check from behind, by the way.
He did not. Come on.
I'm telling you. You ask him. He's not embarrassed
I
about
will
that.
say that Reno was never, ever the last man in a buffet line. Ever, ever, ever.
For seconds. for seconds, he'd
beat other people first
true,
with a second.
true.
Okay,
That's true.
But he was always very close to he made it a goal to be the first in line.
He's going to call me. You know he's going to call us.
He's going to kill us.
Hey, Dean, get that little dictating machine out and record. We should get Reno on the show.
Should have Reno. We had him
block
on
all his
episode-
calls because he's going to kill us now.
Yeah, we haven't had
block
Reno
him.
on him forever.
It's been forever. Maybe we can play back some of these little clips where we're making fun of him.
He'll kill us. Anyways, in the news.
Because, by the way, Nick now he's got a new duty in charge. He's marking down all these little clips so that in the future he can just he's putting
Dean
time
did that.
code.
I thought Dean did
No, Nick has been put in charge. That's why, did you notice he's got the headset on now?
He's got
actually
half
paying
on.
it.
Look at
half.
Nick, look
the
at
other
us.
half he's got to
He's got the ear
listen to his
exposed.
peeps on the phone, right? So now he's marking these things down, like that comment we just made, and said maybe we play it back.
I've never seen so many facial emotions as Nick in this podcast. He's laughing 1 second, he's giving his grandpa the finger the next second. He just give him the
does
pen
not.
up the. He's got. Look at him now. Why do that on camera right there?
What's in the news, Mr. Bowman?
Okay. This is a very interesting story, and it's going to be concerning to some people for sure, ourselves included. Walleye in lakes with zebra mussels have higher mercury levels. So a study found another negative effect of invasive zebra mussels in lakes, higher levels of mercury in fish. So this is
Can I just jump in for a moment? So we're going to make an assumption that all Great Lakes tributaries and connected lakes will be affected by this bulletin, right?
I would say
I
any
think-
lakes with zebra mussels.
I think Superior still doesn't have them, right? Or does?
It's got quaggas.
Yeah, it's got it. I believe it does.
Not as bad, I don't think.
I think, I'm not sure. It's an anomaly. Superior's an anomaly. I mean, as you see from those All Too Clear films, you can tell. But I think there are zebras in
I think
Superior.
there is too.
I thought they're in the southern end, the St. Mary's River end of it. Mm-hmm. But anyways, researchers from the University of Minnesota, the U.S. Geological Survey, and other agencies studied 21 Minnesota lakes, and Minnesota is connected to Ontario, folks, northwest Ontario. If you look on the map, you're going to see that we are in a connected area and a lot of Great Lakes. It covers a lot of Great Lakes. Compared mercury concentrations in the tissues of two species, walleye and yellow perch. They found that adult walleye in lakes infested with zebra mussels has 72% higher mercury concentrations than in lakes without the invaders.
So
Let me just do this one more with the yellow perch. In yellow perch, the common prey for walleye, the mercury concentrations were 157% higher.
So just to break this down, mercury as far as I know, is a naturally occurring substance that is found pretty much in all of our waterways to various degrees, depending on the substrate of the body water. But obviously, those mercury contaminants, particles are kind of floating around in the water. And because zebra mussels filter the water, that's how they consume their nutrients, all of that's getting trapped in the zebra mussels. And so any fish that eats zebra mussels obviously is getting a super dose, an injection of mercury every day.
But these guys aren't.
No,
these
so
guys
apparently
aren't-
it's not from eating it.
No, they're not. They don't eat the zebra mussels.
So I guess
They don't.
So according to
So
this,
what's the deal here then?
yeah, so there's a bacteria in the water that converts mercury into the form that we can ingest. So like it enters the water in like its natural pure form,
Right.
and gets converted by bacteria into methyl mercury,
Right.
which is absorbed by
more toxic.
Yeah,
Methyl mercury,
yeah.
And
So
that can
normally-
be absorbed by fish and humans.
Yeah,
That can
But
be
what's the
absorbed.
zebra
So,
mussel connection?
The mats that you see, those create a better environment for that bacteria, so more gets converted into that methyl mercury. So
sediment?
there's-
The sediment without oxygen. There's no oxygen in there, and it creates a better area for those things for the mercury to develop, I guess.
yeah.
You guys
So-
are getting all that out of that one article, huh?
Yeah.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
I'd have never thunk it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The thing to see the problem is with guys like us, like and Dean included, you and I and Dean included, if we're fishing in southern Ontario, a lot of chances are we're fishing in, the Great Lakes or connected waters to the Great Lakes. Starting up the zebra mussels area, and I do eat these fish, so I have to show some kind of concern. And the two fish that I eat the most are perch and walleye. You know what I mean? Pike would be next, and I'm sure they're probably just about as bad as the rest of them. So
now, we do have an article on the website that has some charts that show, I think Ontario puts it out for each lake or each area on how many fish they recommend consuming based on the mercury levels in that body of water.
Do you remember what they were for walleye?
It's not, so it depends on the size of fish, because mercury bioaccumulates, which means the longer it's in the water, the more it's eating, the higher the concentrations get.
Okay.
So it depends on the size. So I think it was if it was, you can eat 4 fish per month that are under 18 inches, it'd be like half a fish per month over 30 inches or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little while, a reason I'm smirking is because a little while ago, I went on a walleye eating binge. And I ate 4 meals of walleye within a 10-day period. And I'm talking I chowed down on walleye.
Big fillets,
and
small
they
fillets.
they were definitely not little 16 inchers. Let's put it that way.
So
they
3 pounders,
they're probably
24?
3-pound fish, I would think.
Well,
so I chowed down a lot, meaning twice as much as a normal person would consume in a single sitting, thinking that I was doing good because
healthy,
of my food intake
fish,
being. Nice high protein, quality protein, walleye, no batter, no nothing. It's just pure, wonderful.
Well, apparently,
and now you're telling me I might have been poisoning myself.
You might have poisoned yourself there, but apparently you can detoxify from the mercury levels too. And it does get out of your. It doesn't stay in there forever. What's that guy, Dean? That story you had?
I forget his name. He was on Eating Wild podcast, but we met him at the Sportsman Show,
right?
And he said he was eating, he was eating 1 walleye meal every day for 8 years and ended up getting mercury poisoning. His was so bad where he lost control of his legs, his eyes were starting to go. He was getting some serious and he thought he might have had MS or ALS because it was getting that bad. And then they did, because I don't think they'll test your mercury levels unless you ask them.
Right.
So I actually had a CO come up to me one time because when I lived in Kenora, I was eating walleye every day for a few months, and a CO came up to me and told me I should get I should request to get a test because they said especially in that area they'd be concerned.
Yeah, I'm gonna on my next physical when they do blood tests, just ask them you got to pay extra.
Oh, they just check it off?
Yeah, I think you just pay for it, and it would be
I got one coming up. I got one in a few weeks.
It'd be interesting.
We should do it on air,
or maybe not. Maybe I don't want to know. But after that clinic I put on,
the symptoms of mercury poisoning include tremors, insomnia, memory loss. You and I are good for that one. Neuromuscular effects, headaches, and cognitive and motor dysfunction.
So we all have it.
So we're all diseased.
Oh God!
But it's interesting, and now they have not found the science. Although it's connecting zebra mussels to this story, we don't really know why. Is that correct?
No, they do know that the bacteria levels are so high in the lake now because of those the beds of zebra mussels.
Yeah, but the zebra mussels aren't the only ones who create that sludgy looking bottom on
maybe
lakes.
quagga mussels. Maybe what else does though?
How about freshwater clams? Have you ever seen a certain time of the year?
Do they cover that big a swath? Huge?
Well, sometimes you look at it and say, "Holy mackerel! Somebody had a feast here."
Clam bed, yeah.
So, and rocks obviously would not qualify as that. So it's got to be something in the zebra mussel shell that is making mercury.
I think it's the sediment itself. They're creating this non-oxygenated sediment by being so thick in there now, and that's the mercury is somehow evolving in there.
Pebbly, rubbly.
There's oxygen. That's oxygen water, oxygenated water. Apparently, it's not. It's the non-oxygenated water that's the key. So,
Anyway, 72% higher mercury concentrations in those lakes. That says it all.
that's insane. You think about it.
Not a little bit, for sure. Interesting story.
It's going to be a good study to keep our eyes on for sure.
And Dean, maybe we could have somebody on.
Yeah, I think so.
That might know a little bit
That'd be
more
awesome.
about this
That would be awesome.
than ourselves. Somebody's doing. Somebody will come on from the study, I'm sure, to give us some.
The very last line says, as a result, walleye and perch may shift their feeding habits nearer to shore where more mercury is available. Jeez.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's what they left us with. Oh, my God.
Well,
We're
read
doomed,
the whole
Angelo.
paragraph. At the same time, filter
We're
feeding
doomed.
zebra mussels are sucking nutrients out of the water and depositing them on the bottom as waste. As a result, walleye and perch may shift their
moving
feeding
away from
habits
that.
near to shore where
Even
more
more.
mercury is available.
Well,
I don't know how that means. All I know is that they are delicious.
yeah, it's a shame. It's such great eating fish.
And we should keep an eye on it. Fan question of the week brought to you. By the way, that story is on fishingcanada.com as we speak.
Yep.
It's the whole story, not the butchered up version that we just gave you. The whole story and nothing but the whole story. It's on fishingcanada.com. And while you're there, don't be shy. Look around. Open doors. Push buttons. There's all kinds of good stuff.
Grab,
to do.
grab a hoodie or two.
Well, you could do that too, but I don't want to sound like I'm always pushing the swag. I'm not. There's all kinds of
Is this
stuff.
podcast coming out before Christmas, Dean?
Yep.
Just saying. Just saying.
No, I'll tell you what I was going to say, and now you're throwing me out, but go to the contest section of .com because there is a bevy. By the way, for those of you who've been following the boat motor trailer coming up contest, had some good news the other day. It's coming up very, very soon.
It's getting
on,
motorized.
I'm sorry?
It's getting motorized.
It's
as
getting
we speak.
motorized. Thank you. And it's going to be a beauty. That's all I can tell you. Fan question of the week brought to you by the good folks at fishfindermounts.com. That's
Come on now.
fishfindermounts.com. I asked them one time when we first met them, I said, like, look, that's a weird name for a product. Like, why would you call it fishfindermounts.com? He said, well, how did you find it? I said, well, I was looking for fish finder mounts, and I thought I should go to a .com site, right? I should go to a .com site
And he
or
said,
a
ding, ding, ding,
.ca,
ding, ding.
and there you were. Nah,
And he said, it worked.
I rest my case.
It worked.
They're called fishfindermounts.com. They are more than just fish finder mounts, though I do want to tell you this. They are pretty much anything that they've got. One of the coolest things that they've got, and I just saw a commercial that's being released in January on this. They've got the coolest, most functional way of putting a portable transducer on the back of an aluminum boat. Like when you go, either hiking in where there's a boat stashed away or a fly-in trip or even for your own 12-footer, 14-footer, 16-foot aluminum boat that you don't want to drill holes into.
Of course.
The coolest magnetic mount I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
So
we used it a few
gone-
times this year.
Gone are the suction cups.
No
Gone.
more suction cups.
Nice.
Remember the old suction cups?
Oh, yeah. And then you're driving at 4 miles an hour and it's skiing behind the boat.
And I'm
Ding,
saying
ding,
to
ding,
Pete,
ding, ding.
Pete, the bottom has changed. Okay, we gotta check this out.
Ah, God.
Meanwhile, the
Cool.
suction cup is waving at us back there.
So you tried it, Dean?
Yeah, we tried it on one of the episodes coming up. We put it on a pontoon boat, and it
Right.
worked for that. We did a fly out
At
in-
Perot Lake, I think.
At
you-
Pearl Lake,
yeah.
but yeah, Sup Lake.
Yeah.
So we flew in there and took it in there, and then I took it up to my cabin and used it.
And
up
hung
there.
on, no problem. All three.
It's amazing. Like it's actually hard to get off. Like that magnet is terrifying.
Right.
It is like
You do
so
not want to get your
powerful.
finger between the steel and the magnet. in
But
other
we
words,
drove
right?
that pontoon boat, and I don't know how fast. I don't remember what motor was on that thing, but we had to be going like 30, and it was on there no problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Great idea. I will say it's a great idea.
Check it out. It's at fishfindermounts.com. Fishfindermounts.com. And they bring you this week's fan question. which is submitted by Alex from Manitoba via email. Thank you, Alex. And we encourage everybody listening, if you have a question, may or may not be a burning question, check it out. I said something a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know whether you took me seriously or not, Dean, so I'll ask again. Maybe you can read this into your new dictation machine that you're getting. We should give something away for these things.
Why don't we give Alex something?
Well, now how do we do this? Before we commit to it, let's just see. The logistics is usually the most difficult part of this. So what I'm suggesting is that for a question submitted that's read on a show, we should give them something. And that something could be as simple, because then, shipping and where they live, and, a big parcel. We send a parcel, they're going to have their neighbors come over and help them unload it off the truck. There's all kinds of complications with that.
Are you backpedaling now? Are you
No, I'm not. I want to make it simple. I don't want to have,
See, what I think happened right there is Ange throwing that out, and he was expecting Dean to say, no, Ange, we can't do that. And all of a sudden Dean said, yeah, hell yeah, let's go for it.
No, I just want to make it simple for my peeps.
What if we gave him like a code? For the store?
Well, a code, or we could ask Nick, if he's not too busy, maybe we could send Alex a coupon for the fishingcanada.com site, where he could go there and shop to his heart's content, and maybe, the coupon, the code, you mentioned the code, maybe it could be as simple as a code. And he could get, I don't know, like $50 or something.
Holy moly!
Does that sound?
We're going all in right off the hop.
Buy himself a nice
Alex,
hat.
you the man.
25.
Alex.
How many of these do we do a year?
52.
Like I said,
$10 is great.
Count, but I can sure add. $5 would be a wonderful. I think everybody would appreciate that.
Oh, they'd love the $5, but they won't do it for $5. I know in this day and age we got to do at least.
Well, they've been
$10.
doing it for
At least
nothing up to this point.
Wait a minute. See, I was worried there for a moment. Nobody can hear us. I was worried there for a moment, because I thought I was going to get shit from the accounting department for just coming up with this stuff, right?
Yes,
but I just remembered it was the Countess herself who suggested this.
Oh, no, boy, that's carte blanche right there, bud.
So I'm thinking, why are we chinsing out at $50?
Oh.
I mean, it's the Countess who approved it.
But you got to remember, you're doing this every week, right? Is that what you're talking about, weekly, or are you talking?
Dean did the math on that. It'd be 52 times a year.
Correct.
Right. Holy smokes, that's a lot of money.
So how about a Christmas one? Maybe we can do this. Christmas is coming up, and Alex gets a nice little bonus for Christmas, but we can't do that every week. We got to be reasonable.
I'm going to go out and limit. It's for right now until further notice. If you submit a question and it's selected, now I know it's a rigorous process that you have to go through. I think we've mentioned it a million times. The process of getting selected to be read is not a simple one. The question goes into a drum, a 45-gallon drum, and it's pulled, and so you know that. So if you are one of the lucky ones that's pulled, I think it should be $100. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think it should be.
You could almost get two of these suckers. You could almost get both of them. I mean, not quite, but
yeah.
A hoodie and a T-shirt.
So until further notice, then I'd like to submit that we give $100 away for each of the questions, the fan questions of the week. Until further notice. When we run out of money, then obviously that could be changed.
Okay, yeah. Hey, if you run out of money, you can't do it anymore, right? I got you. What if a person only wants $60 worth of stuff? Can you got to give them $40 in cash back?
Well, that's where Mr. Bowman would come in, because he's the cash magnet.
I'm the cash man.
He's the cash man.
Oliver the cash man.
Now, we do accept questions, so most of these are sent in for email.
Right.
But we pull from YouTube comments, from all that.
Well, we're going to get a lot more questions now when Ange's throwing out that.
All I'm saying, okay, let's not build this thing completely out of proportion. All I'm saying is that whoever submits a fan question, and keep in mind, we obviously, in order to redeem your goods, you're going to have to go to and fill it like anybody else would, right?
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is that any question that we accept and read on air will get a reward.
That's
and
it.
that reward will
That's
be
all
a
I'm saying.
$100 coupon or code that will allow them to go spend $100 on fishingcanada.com.
There you go.
I don't know.
Excellent.
I don't know how else we can
Come
do
on
it,
now.
Good.
you know?
That's good.
And now that's pretty good.
That's damn good.
That's pretty good. So,
I'm going to be doing anonymous questions in there
so
now.
my question for that question is, do they have a limit as to the number that they can submit? Number one, and can they win more than once?
I don't think they can win more. than
No,
once.
we can't let them win more.
So
than
once they win
That's
once,
it.
they're out of the
That's-
equation.
You're being very generous here,
Well-
so let's not be greedy on their hand, on their side.
The reason, yeah, okay. So you can only win one of these, so that's out of the way.
And it shares the wealth with everybody. Everybody gets to share.
And how about submissions? Can they submit like 1,000 of these things?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
keep
going to get
trying.
pulled out of the drum, so it's just random anyways,
Right.
right? So the drum just gets a little fuller.
So, from what I'm understanding, is that there's multiple submissions allowed. So obviously, the more you submit, the more
better
your
chance you
chances
have.
are winning. But however, you can only win once,
Yep.
which is cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So until further
and
notice,
please send good questions. Too.
Well,
Don't
I was
just
gonna say
hey,
that.
Ange, what color are your shoes today? No, that's not
Can
good.
Can you and I maybe be the final
Judges? Yeah.
Judges when we. I mean,
Yeah.
God bless Dean. He's a busy guy. He's got
gotta go to
dictating
Windsor
machines. He's
for
got
a
to go
free
to
meal.
Windsor. Like he's got a lot of shit on his plate. All right, so let's not overtax him.
Okay.
Once he makes that selection.
He gets it down to a nice 10, let's say, or what, 5 even, whatever.
Well, I was thinking just the one that he selects.
we just
Okay.
got to say yes or no.
We'll see it for the first time here on the open mic.
Oh, okay.
We'll read it,
Okay.
and we'll know whether this person put enough thought. Like Alex, for example, in Manitoba, he would have won because I would say that's a really good question.
Good question, yeah.
Is he our first winner then?
So you
or-
can't-
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
But I'm just saying.
So if it's not a good question, we're going to say, hey, Bill, your question
Here's your
sucked.
answer, but it sucks. Do a better job. Get another question in there.
So I'm not going to spell check these then. I'm going to put them in as they come
Oh, even better.
because a lot of them are
Even better. I like that.
insane.
Well, I
Because we
love
won't even
it.
be able to read them then. We'll
I
say,
love it.
but why?
Yeah, give them to us raw, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to see the real deal.
And yeah,
Right?
that's maybe a little note to everybody writing questions in. You might want to get a little bit more in your spell checker working there, or be very explicit and try to do as good a job as you can on these questions. I'd say because
Now, there is another way we could do
We're
this.
going to rip it.
There is another way we could do this. Now that I think of it, there's another way we could do
This
this.
is all for a fan question segment.
No, but this would be really
This is
cool.
great.
This would be really cool. Think about it. Could we design? That's a bunch of bullshit T-shirt, right? That's a custom designed shirt. Could we design a fan question shirt,
Why couldn't
and they
we?
actually win a fan question shirt?
That logo right there, fishfindermounts.com on it, and a fan question, something like that goes across the shirt. That'd be cool.
Instead of the $100.
That'd be cool. They're going to be pissed with you for that, but it's
Well, we
better for
haven't even
us.
pissed at me.
No, I like that.
They probably want the
They
new
get
hoodies.
pissed at Santa Claus when Santa comes down the chimney and leaves something under the tree. No, they take whatever Santa brought you. Pissed at me. How can they get pissed at me? I'm just saying. Wouldn't it be
I know
nice?
people. I know people. Give me a $12 T-shirt versus a $100 gift certificate.
Well, that's where I'm getting to. All right,
Okay.
I'm doing the math here as we speak. That's why this segment is going on so long. I'm trying to add it all up, trying to figure out where that's coming from.
I love
All right,
it. I love it.
for this coming
Next podcast.
Now, hang on, Dean.
Here
no,
we go.
No, but hang on.
I love
What's
it.
to keep Dean from pulling out a
His buddy's
question that was already asked prior to?
Well, Dean
today?
knows that. Dean will know that, and he'll just throw that one away because that question is redundant and it's already
Well, I
been
have
done.
a
and why.
huge bank right now.
Oh, okay, well, I don't want banks, so I want new, fresh as of this day.
What do I do with the hundreds I have saved up?
Well, unfortunately, put them aside for now.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
we can't give somebody a prize when they didn't even know they were putting questions in for
Well,
a
but they
prize.
did that for free. They put questions in for free. So that's even better effort. Now it's, I can get $100 out of this, or I can get a T-shirt out of this. Well, those people that are putting it for free, they're putting their extra effort in, their extra time for nothing, just to get an answer. So
Like Alex.
if it was a really, really good question, I think we should be able to at least sift through them and say, oh, you know what? That's a way better than that. We need that over that. And the bonus is they get their little prize. That's just my thought.
So, like I said, Dean, only from this day forward
All right.
will we do
Sorry,
this.
I tried, folks. I tried to help you out. But,
the drum, empty the drum out.
Yeah, Angie's done a bit of a
in,
roll.
get some, I don't know, get some cardboard boxes or something and dump the drum out with the questions that
those
are there now.
emails,
Save
those
them.
email questions, you got to
Yeah.
dump them out.
Save them. Don't get rid of them. But let's fill it with new only.
Okay.
Because I want folks to feel like, hey, this is starting now. I'm going to throw a question in there right now because I know I've got a chance at the 100 buckaroos.
Yep.
Right?
Hell yeah.
So as of this program, until further notice, because this might end real quick. So I would strongly suggest that if you would like to enter this $100 giveaway, that you do this ASAP. Like, in fact, if you haven't already done it, there's something wrong with you. While we were speaking, I gave you ample time to be the first one to get one in there. All right.
Okay. Alrighty then.
What's next, Dean? Do we have any?
You might want to read the
We
question.
haven't started it yet.
We haven't read the question, you dork.
Well, it's not valid anyways.
From Alex. This is not
This is not valid. I don't want to give people the wrong impression. Move on. No?
You said it was a good question.
It is a
You
great
just said it was a good question.
That's a good question. Go ahead.
From Alex from Manitoba via email.
Who will not be getting the $100 by
No,
the
sorry,
way.
Alex. You might want to work on a new question, a real good one, just like this one. Have you ever been injured on the water? All anglers I know have been injured at some point in their career, but I haven't seen anything like that on TV, YouTube, etc., etc. And then he has another part. Also, you should do a sucker video. We were talking about with Sir Melly and all
In
that.
sucker
I think is what I'm
fishing?
doing. I think so.
Well, we're going to
We'll
talk
do
about that with hopefully very soon with our
Mr.
guest
White
that's coming
or
up.
whatever the name was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been injured on the water? We all have had
Aside
hooks,
from the
jabs
hooks.
into us and stuff like that. You had a nice one this year with the pike annihilation on your hand. You
was
had to
brutal.
be bandaged up big time. You're bleeding like a stuck pig for sure.
I had sunstroke one time on a boat.
You had sunstroke in Mexico that time? That was quite, yeah. That's not injured, but I'll tell you what, it's as bad as injury or worse.
You had a really bad bee sting one time on the boat.
Remember that? Yeah, that's right too. The bee sting doesn't sound like much, but
Oh, no, I had to take him to the
swell up.
hospital.
Yeah, I swell up. So
My-
my ring finger, he nailed my bit. He stung my ring finger, and it swelled up on both sides of the ring. There's still the mark right there. The lady tried.
My little
the nurse tried to
princess,
cut it
my
off.
little princess had to be taken to the hospital for a bee sting.
Hell, it's okay. You had to go to a wedding that night,
I
you
know,
pussy. Oh God! Now I'll tell you the worst. Not injury, because it was an ongoing thing, but I had. I remember this vividly. We went to Kasagami Lake Lodge, and I had a problem going on, which I didn't know what it was at the time. It ended up being, it's called avascular necrosis of the lunate bone. So a bone in my hand was losing blood, and it happens to your hip and your hand, and that's the only places it happens.
Good. It's a good thing. I can think of worse places to have that happen.
One of your relatives, Lena,
Thank you.
had that.
Appreciate that.
You don't want
He
that
wasn't
bone,
even
the blood
listening.
to the bone. You don't want to lose that, right? Is what
No.
you're saying?
Be
And
terrible.
I remember we were pike fishing, and I was all wrapped up and bandaged up, trying to cover it as best as I could.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember this.
And Miller was with us. So we were in those long canoes. Remember those long Charlie's place?
Oh, and
Charlie's
we were
place.
in that
In those
shack.
reeds. Yeah, in that shack.
Oh, my
But anyways,
God.
when I was
That's
we
when
were
the
fishing
marmot,
these-
the marmot attacked the women's washroom.
no, the shower. Yes.
The women's bathroom shower. The marmot got in there and just went absolutely apeshit.
Yes,
I remember
and
now.
bit you. As a matter of fact, the marmot bit you as a part of the result.
I remember that. Yeah.
Anyways, I dropped to I was trying to set the hook. We were fishing flukes in shallow water with braided line and flipping sticks, and every time I set the hook, I just about cried. It hurt so, like on a level 10 for
And
sure.
at that place, you're
And
setting
it's
the
just
hook like
you're
every cast,
every
right?
cast, and you're setting it hard, and it's braid and all that stuff. So that would be the worst feeling injury I've had. But that was already an ongoing thing, and I had an operation after that. But that was
No broken bones. I'm trying
no.
to think in our 40-year
You broke your
history.
ankle, didn't you?
I broke my
yeah.
ankle.
Yeah.
Very nice. See? That's
Yeah.
why.
That's That's why I'm here.
You've been slagging him. You shouldn't have said anything, Dean, till after the show. You said,
Yeah,
I was
I
going to
should've.
say something, but you were so mean to me all show that I wanted to say break a leg before the show, but you broke an ankle during the show.
That was bad.
That was a good one. That was just a slip. Just a
was
slip on the
bad.
rocks. That was Day Airways with the... the lake was Apisabago Lake.
Yes.
We stopped at Sault Ste. Marie Hospital on the way home. Remember, we drove in and
They
stopped in there.
X-rayed her
And
and Nick
put
is
you on a
waving
splint.
at me, is trying to. Where was that? No, I was releasing. I was releasing a fish. You're right. And I cracked the rib over.
how about a little thing called a heart attack?
Wow, I
on a
didn't want
shoot?
to. That was not an accident.
That's an injury
That
in a
was
major
an
way.
injury. So yeah, I had a heart attack in the field, if that counts.
That counts
back
for
in
sure.
2019. So yeah, well, I guess we've had a few. I mean, aside from the countless hooks of that we've
you
impaled
mostly
ourselves with. Yeah,
get
but you've had a
impaled.
couple.
Had a couple, but not many.
No.
You were the
Knock
king.
on wood.
You were the king of hooks.
For a while, like
not
for a couple of years.
Was like almost every shoot we were expecting it with ants. Not every year. It was like, oh yeah, you were the king of that one. I don't know about any cuts, any lacerations in the sense of cutting ourselves badly and to get stitches. I don't think anything like that has happened.
I don't think so. Oh,
Uh-oh, here we go again.
yeah. On the Red River in Manitoba,
catfish on the Red?
catfishing. I remember now, I had to go to the hospital and get stitches because I was trying to release a cat, big channel cat, by the side of the boat, and the hook was right through out the other side
Of the fish's mouth.
of the fish's mouth, and I had a pair of pliers, and I'm trying to sort of push the hook back through, and I slipped, and my thumb got completely gouged by the tip of the hook, and these are big hooks that they use out of red for these cats, right? And the force of me pushing down, the pliers slipped, and that hook just went right through. It was like slicing an apple. I could see it happening. It was just sliced my thumb all the way down, and I had to go in for stitches.
I remember
on
that. I think I was there on that shoot too.
God.
We had to send you in there to the hospital.
Whew, I don't even want to think.
You've
about
had
that
a lot of
one.
injuries.
I've
on
had a lot
shoots,
of injuries
for sure.
I should get a
Good
prize
question,
or something.
Alex.
Do you think I'd get a prize or
Those
something?
are great. Those are memories that we would have never talked about
Right.
unless Alex sent in a great question. Man, too bad you weren't. One show later, Alex, you got $100 for that one for sure.
Don't make them feel bad.
You know.
No.
But that was a good question, Alex. I had to give you the sweater, not. But I
Of
can't-
course,
I don't
because it's not coming out of his pocket.
right.
What's he care? He'd give everybody a sweater just for saying hello to him.
have a T-shirt, even not just a nice little T-shirt. Even.
Speaking of which, it is that time of year, my friend. There is gift giving in the air as we approach the holiday season, or as some of us like to call it, my colleague and I, Christmas is upon us. And the question is, the folks at Sail want to know, do you have a loved one who would fish every weekend if they could?
Yes, we do.
We do have those.
Oh, yes, we do.
Or are you in search of the perfect gift for the hunter in your life?
Well, they were very particular. Hunters are very particular.
Fishermen and hunters. I mean, discover gift ideas that are sure to please every angler and hunter in your life and or on your list, I suppose.
Yeah.
From fishing rods and reels to sonars and fishing and hunting clothing.
Yeah.
Footwear,
Yep.
like outdoors stuff is just in that footwear department. I can live in the footwear department. I just love it. Of course, I used to be in the shoe business, so that's kind of close to me.
Yeah.
All the way to...
You'd be a shoe in for a job there, that's for sure.
I'd be a shoe-in.
Thank you, Dean.
Yeah. Wow, he was in the middle of dictating. And
He knows. Dean knows my humor.
or
He gets
even
me.
trail cameras. Yes, they have a
Yeah.
new supply of trail cameras. Let me tell you something. If you do have a hunter or any kind of outdoors person on your list, trail cams are becoming probably one of the most go-to, most appreciated gifts that
Yes.
you can give
They're a
them
lot
this
of fun.
Christmas.
And is you might say, oh, they already have one. That's just a gift where you can have multiple cameras.
Bonus.
A hunter loves to have different sets of cameras sitting at different points, and that gives them a real good idea.
But
what's
not
on
just
there.
hunters. I mean, people
True.
who just love seeing wildlife
Yeah.
in action. They want to keep an eye on their favorite waterfowl during the winter period. I don't know. I don't
You
know.
want to talk about wildlife in action?
Yes.
Yesterday, I had an owl this big
No way.
smash into my window in my backyard, my sliding door window.
Get out of here.
As loud as that, scared the shit out of me.
Whoa, you almost knocked me off the boat.
Sorry, buddy. You got your life jacket? Yeah, you got it on.
Yeah,
You're good.
we're good.
And I what the hell? I got up, and of course my dog, he's all wound up, and it was a barred, I believe, barred owl. Dean, is that what I showed Dean a picture?
He died?
No, he just sat there. He was looking the other way.
Stunned. He's stunned.
And then his wings were kind of flat out too, which is weird. And I thought, oh no, because I didn't know. Take him to a vet. He's going to claw the hell out of me. He's going to kill me. And then all of a sudden he just turns the old head like an owl. He did that
Linda
turnaround.
Blair. He pulled
did
a
a
Linda
Linda Blair.
Blair.
And then he was looking sort of down this, and he looked right into my eyes. He looked through the window, right into my eyes. And I thought, holy shit, he's looking at me. And then whoosh, and he flew up over the fence and gone off my deck.
Wow.
Gone.
That
So
was
freaky.
Did you get any shoot?
Freaky.
Did you
Yeah,
get any
I
images?
got some
like
video. of it.
stills?
Yeah, video.
Just video. No beautiful.
I can grab a still out of that.
Yeah,
Beautiful bird. An
Yeah.
owl is such a good looking animal as a bird. I don't know if a bird's
they're so cool.
So man, it
Now,
was so
see,
neat.
if you had a trail cam set up in your backyard, you could have seen the action.
I wouldn't have had to be there. See,
Right. You could have actually
I'd have seen where he came from, because
Exactly.
that's the question. Why was he in my backyard? And boom, yeah. So
So maybe you should be going to sail and
again,
getting,
again.
and
I'm
getting
in there
one
all
of
the
these,
time. Hi
trail
Pete.
cams.
Hi girls. Hi Pete. Hi guys. Hi Pete. Everybody. they
So
know me.
say goodbye to all the guesswork, I guess is what we're trying to tell you, and get ready to make a special loved one very happy this holiday season. All right, as mentioned earlier in the program, our guest was first presented to us or introduced unofficially to us by our good friend Joe Cermelli.
I like that.
He of
Unofficially.
New Jersey.
I like that. Unofficially.
Unofficially, because
yeah.
we hadn't met him at the time.
That's right. And we'll make it official today.
And the reason being is that we got onto the subject of non-sport fish,
Rough fish.
non-game fish sport fishing.
Yeah.
And Joe said, have I got a guy for you to talk to? And finally joining us, Tyler Winter from Minnesota. Tyler, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. You kidding me? Anytime we get a chance. This is such a rare subject on our show.
Yeah, I would
Because
say.
honestly, and I won't say ourselves included, but most of the folks in our circles, we're so hung up on this term game fish. And if it's not a game fish, we almost automatically poo-poo it.
I'll bet you Tyler lives the same as us. At Minnesota, we're probably very close to the same parallel. He's got walleye, he's got muskie, he's got smallmouth bass, a bit of largemouth bass. Probably everybody talks about that, but you're right. There's so many other species that we could capitalize on for sure.
Underdog fish. Is that a term that you've kind of coined, or is this something you picked up somewhere?
That's a great name for them. I just tend to call them native fish.
Okay.
But it's, anything's really better than rough fish.
Right.
is the thing. But native fish, underdog fish, because there's really not like a single thing that like ties them all together. There's so many different groups of species in there. There's so much diversity in there. And then, we had this in Minnesota. We renamed them, and we were going through all the possible things, but there wasn't like one good term.
Right.
And we even threw out non-game fish. Well, fisheries people were like, we don't regulate non-game things.
Right.
There's a non-game,
So-
there's a non-game program for darters and little tiny things. So it was like, oh man, what are we going to call them? And it's like anything other than trash.
So
There's bait fish and there's game fish. That's about the only two classes, isn't there?
let's
Bait fish and game
let's talk
fish.
about that right off the bat. So have you talked to the officials about how they determine the validity of, why is this fish a game fish and this one's not? Did they give you, do you know at all what goes into that process?
I mean, so it's just in law. It's in statute.
But how did they determine that a walleye is a game fish and a sucker is not? How do they come up with that?
So in Minnesota, I did a deep dive on this. In Minnesota, the term rough fish was first used in law in 1907, and there wasn't a list. They were just like, rough fish, and then it was like, you know it if you see it, right? It was like they didn't have to explain it, right? And then it wasn't until later they actually were like, okay, well, the list is, and they're like, the suckers, turtles, right? Like, guys, I think this list might not be scientific.
No,
it has non-fish on it.
So there is terminology. It's called rough. I think we have coarse fish up here, don't we?
Yeah.
But there's in the U.S. it's rough fish. Is that what it's actually called in the regulations?
In most states, some of them it's other, some it's non-game. But like in Minnesota, it used to be rough. We ended up with a new name. They're now native rough fish. I just kind of skipped the rough part. But that is basically native fish that grow large enough to be caught by an angler. And then, but haven't been game fish. But it comes down to, it's history, right? And it's like what, back in the day, train companies would sell tickets for people to go on a fishing vacation. They would stock trout at the end of the train line so they could sell tickets for you to go on vacation.
Great idea.
Oh, that's awesome.
Love it.
It is
that's
a great
entrepreneurial
idea,
right there.
Yeah. But you can kind of look back at history. And before that time, right, before 1900 or something, people just fished for food and for whatever they could catch. And then people invented the vacation. And then now you've got to travel as far as you can to go catch a special fish.
That's how true is that?
Yeah.
Right? And I talk to people all the time who are like, oh, yeah, I fish up north. I fish in the driftless. And I'm like, oh, you only fish 4 hours away from here. Do you ever fish at this creek where you live? Oh, no.
There's no game fish in there,
Right. And so they're missing out. I can take my kids fishing 100 days a year and I could do it within a few miles of my house. If I only fished up north, I get to go fishing 3 times.
Yeah. That's a great point.
That's another good point that we don't even think of.
Because you think of where we're sitting right here, you've got the Oshawa Creek, all these creeks that after the steelhead are done or before the salmon come in, there's all kinds of fish that are, especially at the mouths of these creeks, that you could bicycle to it, let alone.
And we already mentioned suckers, but they're all full of suckers.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely full.
Yeah.
Kids can have a ball fishing suckers. I grew up fishing suckers, man. It was great.
Yeah, we did a lot of that too.
What species of suckers are you guys talking about there?
I did red horse suckers in Quebec, and they are big.
Yeah, that's
red horse are they're massive. But
I don't know what we call
sucker?
them here, Tyler. They're just your regular
white sucker,
run-of-the-mill white. Is there such a thing as a white sucker? Maybe
common or something.
There is. But Canada has 18 different species of suckers.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
18.
I mean, so yeah.
So there you go, right there.
Who knew?
I mean, you can make a game out of seeing how many you can get in a day right there. But, that's one of the things that I hate about the categorization, the lumping, and like the way the regulations were, was that it kind of killed people's curiosity. You get this one category and then people are like, you can't do anything, whatever. And I'm like, well, that's 26 different species. In Minnesota, it was 26 different species. I don't know how many are regulated as coarse fish up there, but you got 18 species of suckers right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. So that's crazy. I had no idea.
Right. And it kind of like, it kills the curiosity in there. Like there's, you start opening this Pandora's box and you find out there's a lot more fish in there that we've been overlooking than maybe we even, ever dreamed.
Yeah. It can't be size, because we've talked about it. Pete and I have talked about it over the years. It can't be based on size. You can't say, because if it can't grow to gigantic proportions, it can't be a game fish, because as we know, there are some big coarse fish out there.
Oh my God. Common carp and gar and stuff like that around here are huge.
The one thing that does stand out, Tyler, is consumability. And that is that most of the game fish that we deem to be sporty are also very good table fare. I can't say that for a whole lot of these coarse fish.
Because we don't know, right?
Or mostly because we don't know.
No, we've never tried it. I've heard of pickled or canned sucker is supposed to be really good.
Well, you've had sucker, right? You've prepared sucker. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. They're just a little bony, but of course, if you don't like bones in your food, you can always have tofu.
Well said.
So, I guess some people want to complain about that, but I hunt and fish, and I can break down a fish and deal with the bones. Make it into fish patties is one really easy way to deal with the bones of a sucker. You can score the fillets and fry them, and the bones will soften right up. But the other thing too, it's just, I think a lot of it just comes back to culture, like, and the bonelessness of it. Walleyes are, the fish of Minnesota, and it is kind of hard to get excited about a fish, though, where the main positives are things they lack. They lack bones and they lack flavor, and I guess they lack fight too. But it's like, wait, that's very exciting.
That's really
wow. What is can you compare the sucker meat to a walleye? Let's say what is the difference?
You're hard pressed if you were given a boneless piece of it. They're both very mild flavored.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to like the suckers do have more of those pin bones. That's the main thing to me. I mean, my favorite fish to eat is lake trout. Right. And then after lake trout and whitefish, then it's basically just like the rest of them are kind of interchangeable.
One thing that comes to mind that I'm trying to come up with differences between. One thing that comes to mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, is that what we deem to be game fish are usually carnivores. Carnivores in the sense that they will predate on themselves and on other living organisms, whereas the non-game fish usually are vegetarians, right?
Yeah, bowfin have teeth, and they're nasty, and gar are teeth. They have teeth, and they eat fish. There's probably a few more that we could go through, but
I think there's a couple things they probably have in common. A lot of them live in shallow water, so a lot of times they're pretty visible. Warm water for most of them. Somewhat. Some of the suckers go into cold water trout streams, but a lot of them live in warmer water. And a lot of them feed, more towards the bottom.
Right.
And then also to your point about the lures, it is funny that a lot of the game fish, right, they eat artificials, they eat, spoons and flies. And so I think there's kind of a built-in market for selling stuff to catch those fish, right? Right. And so you now you got something to promote, right?
Yeah, there's a business there, yeah.
I joke about I'm not going to get a sponsor because all I need is like hooks and worms.
Yeah.
You know what though, Tyler? The carp industry might argue with that because Europe, as you know, there's a whole industry there for carp fishermen to buy goodies. And I mean, you think bass fishing is complex with the array of goodies there for sale. You should see, if you haven't, in Europe, the carp fishing industry.
Tyler, have you ever seen a sportsman show over there in Europe that's a carp show sort of thing? It is absolutely insane.
They put so much work into the rigging and the equipment and so forth, but they're also really limited for the amount of water they have.
Yeah, you are. You're right.
It's really dense. They're pay lakes. These fish are super, super pressured. And I'm going to the Mississippi, and it's a bit of worm. It's a number 8 circle hook. It's a fluoro leader, a swivel, a sinker slide, and I make my own flexible sinkers, and I'm set, and then I'm catching fish.
Yeah, there's not much more to it. I think the only time that I recall, speaking of suckers, like we were just a few minutes ago, the only time I recall ever even catching a sucker on a non-natural or an artificial bait was when we were fishing up north. I think for walleye or smallmouth in that river, and I caught one on a crankbait. Lumberjack Lodge.
That's right.
I caught one on a crankbait. First time ever I'd seen a sucker actually hit a crankbait. But I think I might have just pissed them off. Because it was strange as hell.
You got a double header, a smallmouth and a sucker at the same time.
Yeah.
That was
The smallmouth will follow the suckers around. They're looking for an easy meal.
That's
So
what we were
when
thinking.
I'm sucker fishing, sometimes I actually have to catch, there'll be a smallmouth bass on both sides. I have to catch both of them before the sucker has a chance to get my bait.
Imagine
Really?
that. The things you have to
That's
go
horrible.
through, Tyler.
That is horrible, Tyler.
How did
Well,
you?
you know,
how did you get
They
involved?
go through a lot of worms that way.
Oh no,
Yeah,
kidding.
that's true.
How did you get involved in this? We'll call it underdog fishing.
Well, you know, the thing is, I'm the kind of the black sheep in my family. I come from a long line of very avid hunters, and I was the first one who really took it, like, wanted to fish. And I just started fishing wherever I could. And I was fishing in a ditch in southern Minnesota, middle of cornfield, and fishing for carp, fishing for whatever I could. And I caught a fish that I had no idea what it was. It was a moon eye, and it was bright silver. It had teeth on its tongue. It came jumping out of the water, and it looked like maybe it almost looked like a miniature tarpon, like a foot long, right? Cannot emphasize how silvery and shocking this fish was in this muddy water. And I didn't know what it was. None of my uncles, who knew everything, knew what it was. And that fish convinced me that there were still mysteries even in the ditches in Minnesota. You know, and it turns out we have 165 species of fish here, and they're not all game fish, right? So that fish like inspired me to get really curious about all of those other fish. And I found out that there's a lot of fish that are big enough to be exciting to catch, or are, you know, uncommon enough to be exciting to catch, or whatever. And that if you can catch a buffalo or a sucker or a bowfin, you can catch anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now you're in the process of trying to get a bill passed where you now are going to be calling these critters native gamefish.
Right? I'm assuming.
So we did pass that. Actually passed this spring.
Okay,
the
good.
native fish bill. Yep. And so what we did is we went through, because this phrase "rough fish" was in use for 117 years. It had just been put in our laws all over Minnesota in places where it didn't really belong. It was used, instead of saying invasive species, they would just say rough fish. So because it just had one species of invasive fish in this category, but then they'd be like, oh, well, you know, you can build rough fish barriers. You could do that, whatever. And so it was just copy pasted. And we got some people together who were interested in this. We had research on fish like buffalo that showed that they're living to be over 100 years old. And we realized if we're going to have actual management of these native fish, because they do a lot of good things for us, then we actually have to solve all of these various 42 times that this phrase has been used in the law, so that we can actually have limits. So we can actually manage them.
Yeah, same thing we went through with the common carp here, right?
Yeah,
Kind of. We know how long and difficult of a road that was to travel.
Oh boy, was it ever! Well, you know what? It's good that Tyler can they can show us the Minnesota area, can show us that it can be done too, right? So maybe we could work on something here in our Ontario MNR at least, or Canadian, maybe. You never know, right?
For
because we should be managing native and invasive species differently.
Well,
I think we can all agree on that.
You said you're using invasive species with the native fish as well.
Yeah.
And
so they were combined.
They were combined when in fact they were not native,
not the same.
not invasive species at all, and most of them had been here since the beginning of time. So did this bill kind of clarify that? Did you get them removed from the invasive species list, for example?
Yep. So now there's an invasive species category and there's a native fish category. And so we can actually have separate regulations for each category. It's a crazy idea, right? I'm like, you're gonna have, scientific management of a natural resource. Yeah, unlimited harvest on the invasive ones, and then some science and some basic sort of limits and regulations for the native ones.
You said you had one invasive in that one earlier. What was that? What species is it?
So the common carp was grouped in with all those 26 native fish.
Okay.
And so and that kind of dominated it. A lot of people never read past that, and then they would think that buffalo were carp.
Right.
I mean, who would do such a thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you.
Right? So that's easy to do, though. You got to admit, for those that have never, well, the first buffalo we saw, we thought it was a carp.
Yeah,
you know what I
for
mean.
sure.
That wasn't that long ago.
Exactly.
For sure.
Right, and that's exactly what happened. So then I'm out on the riverbank, and people are like, "Oh, look at those carp." I'm like, "Those are actually a native fish. Those are bigmouth buffalo." And then they're like, pretty sure it's a carp. And I'm like, there was nothing in the regs book, right? Like that would distinguish them.
Yeah.
And I realized it was going to take a long time to do that one person at a time on the riverbank.
Right.
One of the problems I think that you ran into, and certainly we've run into up here, one of the problems, I think the major cause of resistance when it comes to recategorizing these things is, and I know we just brush over it lightly, but the amount of work that has to go into it from that day forward. Once you get this recategorized as a game fish, now you got all sorts of problems because as a game fish, it's got to have an open and closed season. It's got to have, creel limits. It's got to have all kinds of rules and regulations that now you have to have people in place to make sure that they're adhering to the rules and regulations. Well, all of this doesn't exist if they're just lumped into, coarse fish or whatever we want to call them. So there is a lot of work involved. I know sometimes we don't even think of that. But
that's great. That's a great point because ultimately, what would be the payoff then if we did change that over?
So the payoff, in my opinion,
people can still fish for these guys no matter what, right? They can still fish.
I think more people would be exposed to them if we categorize something as a game fish and people like the three of us start talking it up and saying, wow, what a great sport this is. This is incredible. We got to get everybody, we got to get kids involved. So what happens is more and more people start utilizing them. And as more and more people start utilizing them, more and more people are going to have to be put in place in order to manage it. Because even though right now, and I'll use in our case, common carp, right? Without any regulations on common carp, you can do whatever you want with them. It doesn't really matter, right? And therefore, there's no government involvement in terms of dollars spent to manage them, enforce regulations, and all this stuff. If you change that, automatically, as the population grows to embrace this new sport or sport fish, the infrastructures have to be put in place to manage, believe it or not, even if we don't think that you'd ever have to manage common carp, you do, right? Because now they become part of mainstream.
You can take it another level up. And I got a great story for this. Just this fall, right before ice up, I was out with some kids and a friend, my kids and whatever. And one of these kids is catching a shorthead red horse. Not a huge one, 16 inches or so. And the sun glints off it. They have these metallic scales and these bright red fins. And somebody was walking their dog on the Mississippi bank behind us. And they stopped and they're like, is that a trout? Is there a trout? And I'm like, no, this is a shorthead red horse. And we landed the fish and we hold it up. She's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's a shorthead red horse. She's like, it's so beautiful. I thought it was a trout. I'm like, well, it's better than that because not only is it beautiful, but it's actually the reason the eagles are nesting here. And it eats zebra mussels. Wow. And so it's actually, and it's a native fish. And she's like, she was just so struck by seeing this fish reflect in the sunlight with these bright red fins. And now she has a whole new appreciation for the river that she has been walking by.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And she sees something beautiful. She thinks it's going to be a trout. Well, there's other beautiful fish too.
Yeah.
And so now,
a rose by any other name, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
You might be.
But that comes down to keeping trash out of the river and doing pickups and water quality protections and park access. And it's when you say, hey, this stream just has coarse fish in it, right? You're telling people that the stream's not worth very much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not just for anglers. That's important for everybody. Well,
true.
what if we protected that stream? Maybe we like to see eagles and maybe we like to see otters and maybe we like to see, buffalo migrate in the spring.
You reminded me of when you told the story of that sucker right there. I was fishing in Dunnville. You weren't on the shoot, Hans, but I was with Steve Hardcastle. And we caught the most bizarre-looking fish. And I think, is there such a fish as a red rudd? something kind of a rudd fish. Have you heard of that one, Tyler?
There is a rudd.
Because this thing had the most orange fin, just like that, but it wasn't a sucker. It was like a really high, thin body, and it had this quill like fin up the top. I'm telling you, this is. I got pictures. I think I got pictures. I'll find the pictures of it.
Yeah.
And we caught about 4 or 5 of these.
Quillback.
Quillback. That's it. Quillback. I think the Rudds were in Niagara River. But quillback, that's what it was. Wow. What a cool looking fish. Like it was like when I saw them, I thought, and they fought like crazy. They bit our baits when we were fishing catfish. They bit our worms. It was insane. And then I thought, these things exist here, and that's the only place I've ever seen them. Was in what is the one in Dunnville? What's that river? Is it the Thames? Or is it the
Thames.
Yeah. So very cool. So.
Yeah. You see a quillback, and there's a couple different species, but you see one of those, and you would think that it belonged in a tropical aquarium.
Yeah,
they're also really silvery, and they got that really dramatic fin.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah.
Why haven't we seen more of it?
I don't know. It must be a Lake Erie thing, or
got a picture behind you. That's the one that Pete took.
That's
there it is.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, look at the orange on the fins and stuff like that. He's got a little suckerish mouth. Looks like almost like a sheep head there. It looks kind of like a drum.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a neat fish, eh?
You got chubby little hands there, brother.
I was working on trade back then, I think.
Well, and the thing too is, people will catch, they go out bass fishing or trout fishing or whatever, and they have a good day, and then they catch one fish like that, and they're like, oh, well, what's this for, right? And it's like, well, wait a minute, which one was actually the challenge, right?
Yeah,
right.
Good point.
You catch 30 trout or 30 bass, and you catch one sucker. Well.
Yeah.
Where's the trophy? A lot of people like to brag up how hard it is to catch the fish they're catching.
Right.
That's a good point. These are really smart fish. And I'm like, really smart fish don't eat metal.
Good point. That's funny.
Tyler, somebody listening to this might say, well, if you're so in love with this coarse fish, we'll call it, then wouldn't it be better if you kept it under wraps? Why do you want to share this with your fellow anglers? Why do you want more people? Well,
that's what I was saying. What's
interested?
The outcome and the positive outcome of that?
Why would you want to do that? Because after all, you might eventually put it in peril if people start fishing and overfishing them, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, the way a lot of these fish get in peril is habitat loss, dams, those sort of things. Some of these fish,
quality of water obviously is a big thing. Yep.
Right, and some of these fish are imperiled. Bigmouth buffalo in parts of Canada are a species of concern. The copper red horse is an endangered species. Oh, wow. And so the thing is, binoculars don't work very well for fish. I can take you out, you can go out bird watching and marvel at something. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to see it, right? But if we can get, if people can catch a few of these things, and there's some of them, the red horse, a lot of the red horse, short-head red horse, and take a few, eat them. Spread it out. You don't have to eat walleyes for every meal, and get people to care for it and love it. I mean, that's how we've managed wildlife, and now we've got turkeys and white-tailed deer everywhere.
Sure.
Good point.
Yeah, great point.
It's worked for so many other animals, and the fact of the matter is, too, is we kind of need these fish. They, like I said, a lot of them eat zebra mussels, or they're food for eagles, or they can modify habitat and transport nutrients. They're doing things we actually need to happen in the environment if we're going to fish for them or not.
You got a cobra behind you there,
black
bud. Black mamba is going to bite your neck. That's exactly what that looks. We got to put a little fake head on that. You got to put. You know what I see, boys? I'm looking into the future of this, because it's going to take a long time for everything to process, including people accepting and all. But I see that as the future of fishing. You know what I mean? You've opened up more minds into these fish and all that. So our kids are all of a sudden bass. My Grandpa Pete used to fish for bass all the time. I don't know why he's fishing for those things. These things are a riot. You know what I mean? Yeah. We can have a future of it, because right now it's going to be a tough, as Tyler knows, it's a tough go. He's trying to get a bill passed and et cetera, et cetera. You're fighting a lot of battle there, right? Even though there's not a bunch of negativity, it's just a whatever sort of situation, but there's it's hard to do.
Yeah, I think the fact of the matter is I think people, in in the last 10 years, it's just been, there's been a lot more positivity about it. There's more research, that is, keeps making the news, at least in fish circles. When you find out that a fish in Minnesota or Canada is living to 127 years old, people get interested.
Right.
When you find out that fish is subject to unlimited harvest, that like raises some eyebrows.
Yeah.
And like
point.
Our Minnesota ones migrating to Canada.
Right.
So,
right.
And so like, we can just bring the level up on this stuff. And then the other thing is I think there's a lot less concern about, the taste or whatever like that. Is like, well, if you're going to go and catch bass all day and let them all go, maybe you want to go out and catch something else too. There's really, and I'm not only a sucker fisherman. I go to the boundary waters and catch lake trout every spring. And I love it because, they're pretty dumb fish with a big mouth. They're a lot of fun. Sometimes I like a fish that doesn't bite. And I'll sit and fish to a big mouth buffalo for an hour and, maybe get one. And that's fun too.
As I listened to this conversation, and earlier on I said maybe it's the lack of consumption that is keeping them sort of below the radar. But I think that's wrong too, because I can think of a lot of cases where consuming it is just not even on the map, and yet,
that's right.
And we go back to carp in Europe. I mean, that's a sacred fish. There's no consuming of those things, right? But you know what's glorified it, and it reminds me of a conversation I had with our good friend Roland Martin a few years ago, when we were talking about the early days in bass fishing, when him and a few of the other good old boys started fishing competitively for bass. There was not really an appetite, and I'm not talking consuming appetite, just an appetite to fish for bass back then when they started in the mid 60s. And he says that it was their efforts in fishing competitively for the species that put it on the map. And all of a sudden, people woke up to it and said, hey, that's very cool. That's sexy, right? And he says that's what glorifies a species of fish, because it's not consumed. Largemouth, as we know, is
it's
not
almost
a
like
big
taboo, almost, right?
Exactly.
It's like negative.
So maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need to glorify this a little bit.
A sucker derby, a great big world-class sucker derby,
like something like that, where people are coming and paying, and there's glory, and there's all that good stuff. That goes
another probably top of that whole list too, in North America, or at least in our areas, is muskie. Nobody, you can't keep them. I mean, the MNR says no, you can't. You can keep one for a trophy. Nobody even thinks about eating them, but yet it's more and more people are muskie fishing. More and more guys are spending $150,000 on a boat. They got to have that big truck. They're putting so much money into this fish that they get a follow with. They don't even get to catch it. Right. They just see them at the boat. Woohoo! Good.
And then what happens? So like that's happening, right? In Minnesota, Lake Mille Lacs, they just caught and released a gigantic one pending world record, right? And then I go to the river a mile from my house and fish from shore, and people come over to me and my kids having fun on the riverbank catching fish, and they go, "Why are you doing that?" Right. I'm like, well, you bought a $150,000 boat to go catch something you're gonna let go?
Yeah.
And like, I'm the crazy one?
Yeah, good point. Wow.
That's funny.
It's a fascinating subject, though, and one that we all need to speak to a little bit more and bring it to folks' attention, right?
And if I lived in the boundary waters, I'd probably fish for lake trout every day, and part of what I get to fish for buffalo because they are next to my house. I talk to people all the time. I'd love to fish more. What is the closest place to your house? What's the place that you can fish on the way home from work? And then like, what's there? It's a lot easier to catch and appreciate what's naturally there than to try to make it something it's not. And, so it's like, take advantage of that. Maybe it's suckers, maybe it's trout, maybe it's bass, but like, take advantage of that. You'll get to fish a lot more by doing that than, trying to go to some place, some exotic place. And I'll tell you too, if you're fishing on a regular basis, you just get so much better at it that when you do go on vacation,
Yeah.
you'll capitalize on it.
Tyler, question for you. What is the weirdest rough fish or any fish species that you've eaten, that you've kept and consumed?
I've eaten some buffalo because I donate the heads for aging, and so I've don't let the fish go to waste.
Right.
And the other red horse species, those are probably the ones I've eaten the most. I keep meaning I want to eat a gar, but apparently every time I go out with that mission, it's like somehow the gar no. So
the gar no,
yeah, and I'm sure somebody's listening to this from some place where they're thick with gar, and they're like, and I'm real hit and miss on gar here in Minnesota. This is kind of the edge of their range, and there's a narrow window, and that's I've heard great things. Once you get inside of them, so.
Really?
That's on the list.
Yeah, the backstrap. Yeah. I think it's the backstrap on them or something. I've heard that it's really good. So.
I heard they're real meaty. But yeah, you just got to get tin snips and
I was going to say, you got to get past those scales.
No kidding. They're nasty. You got to come up to the Ottawa River up here in Canada. Ange and I have been up there. It is like world-class gar fishing. It's unreal. And they're big, too. I mean, you get all sizes, and you sight fish them. And that's a fun game in itself. We could do a whole show on that for sure, because it's so much fun. So, and we've never eaten anything like that. So,
but you know what? Maybe people like us should do more of that. Where if we are out fishing for non-traditional game fish, maybe we should sample some of it on the programs. Like, am I right? Did you do an episode with a meat eater where you were actually cooking something up?
Two of them.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, we did. I was on the Das boat, and we did big mouth buffalo, and then what we caught a buffalo and we released that, and that was fantastic. And then for dinner, we got a massive red horse and made fish patties, made deep fried suckerballs out of those, and that was great. And then I was also on B-side fishing with Joe, and we did red horse tacos.
Wow, that would be good. Cool. That sounds good.
I bet you they'd be good.
Yeah, because by the time you debone them, you don't have like the nice triangular fillet anymore, but you put it in a taco, you can't tell.
Exactly.
So
we got to do that. We got to do that.
We could do that. We could YouTube stuff too, right? We could do it all on YouTube. Das boat, and that the publicity and the story they told with that and the buffalo was just an incredible thing. And taking a conservation story and making it, an angling thing as well, so that it's accessible, right? Because it's like, hey, you can actually go out and see these things and catch them, and it's like, and they get big, and then you let it go, and it's going to live long enough your grandkids can catch it.
We've talked about buffalo a couple times now in the show. We've only seen one ever caught, but we've done a lot of carp fishing, and you would think that we would have come across inadvertently a buffalo or two. Is there a specific way to angle for them that's different than, say, traditional carp fishing?
Yeah, I have never caught one like laying a worm on the bottom. I see them, but their mouth points forward, right? And they will swim around and eat plankton, eat whatever it is. I'm honestly not always sure what they're eating. Yeah. I'm positive what they're not eating, which is a lot of times my fly.
Good point.
And so the thing is, they're like, if they're feeding on the surface, they're looking up, and you would think, oh, I'll just gently lower my fly or my bait down, and they will keep swimming, and then duck under and come up on the other side and keep going.
Wow.
And
what
and you're like, they didn't act spooked, but they also knew that wasn't food.
Right.
And they'll be swimming in a straight line. And then, so the trick is is to kind of see where like the water's swirling around and where like the foam is going to start like collecting, and get your presentation on that before the fish show up. And then you have to have your perfect dead drift, because they're not going to chase food. They don't want anything to chase. They don't want anything that's even like moving, it seems. So you get a perfect dead drift, and then if you guess right, a buffalo will come up and start coming down this line, and they'll find your fly. Sometimes I use a chubby Chernobyl. Sometimes I use a worm. Depends on what rod I'm holding that day, and they'll take it. Every once in a while, if you get a really aggressive one, I've seen them turn as much as 3 inches to go take a fly.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I know. Like if there's a spinner fall and they're really going crazy, sometimes they will turn slightly and take a fly that looks good. But the drift has to be like perfect. And that's, I know Joe mentioned I use a long cane pole. So I have an 18-foot long Japanese rod, weighs 4 ounces. Feels like a magic wand, and I can do a perfect drift, no line on the surface, so no mending. Mm-hmm. And because these fish are constantly afraid of like eagles, right? They're right up there at the surface, so any splashing or whatever can make them all spook. You roll cast is like a tricky thing to pull off without spooking them. You gotta have nice clean drifts, mending. Then you used to start the timer over because now it's moved. So if it saw it move, and now it's like you got to wait for it to kind of forget again. They're super tricky fish to catch.
Hence why we have not caught one.
Exactly. Throwing a spinner bait out there. The thing takes about 90 degrees to it. What about, I've heard, now maybe it's not the same buffalo fish, but I've heard people in Texas fishing big buffalo down there. And I don't know if it's a big mouth buffalo or whatever it is, but I think they're doing it with carp gear, if I'm not mistaken. Is that?
So those are smallmouth buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part. And smallmouth buffalo, they have more of a regular sucker mouth. I've caught some of those too. And they don't live in my home waters. They're a little bit further south than me. Incredible fish. I mean, I caught one that was like 31 inches. Mm-hmm. And like he had to go to I upsized my hooks because they started straightening them out.
Yeah.
Just super fun. I'd also say too, one of the things we've touched on a couple times is the challenges of catching some of these things, if they're bony mouths, whatever. And I think maybe one of the things that's lent itself to the rising popularity is just the improvements in fishing tackle we've had. These fish, a lot of them would have been bait stealers or something. Well, now we have, sharper hooks, we have braided line, we have better rods, and fish that used to steal the worm off your hook, maybe now are getting caught.
Could be. Yep.
And, so it's like, now you can actually there's tackle out there that can handle a bowfin without getting wrecked.
I love bowfins, man.
And he's right. They wreck your tackle, man. Those things are nasty.
That is fun fish. That's a fun fish. Listen, how can folks maybe get more involved in this? I think it's a whole new fishery that's sitting out there just waiting to be tapped, for sure. How can people get more involved or more information? Where can they find you?
Native Fish for Tomorrow has a website, and you can contact us on there. We're growing, regionally and looking for opportunities. Always, a lot of what we do is showing up and being the people who care. Because one of the big hurdles to getting anything done is people say, well, point to the problem. Who cares? Right? And it's like, well, we care, and when we go out, especially in the spring before gamefish season opens, whatever, guess what? There's other people out there too. They just haven't been speaking up, probably because they don't want to even know about their fishing spot.
Well, that could be it too. That's
very true.
One of the problems with most anglers, right? We're so secretive that God forbid should we share with somebody else.
Right.
So I could see that being a problem for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways,
excellent.
Tyler, want to thank you for joining us.
It's eye-opening.
Eye-opening. It was a delight having you on the program. We'll stay in touch. maybe you should come up here to the Ottawa River and sample some of our gar pike.
We
Right?
know a guy.
We know a guy.
So. I think I should. And it sounds like you got some buffalo and some suckers too.
Yeah.
We
for
do,
sure,
buddy.
for
We do.
sure.
You could open our eyes up really well on this stuff up here. So, yeah.
Thank you,
Gotta
my
do it.
friend. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Tyler Winter. I don't know.
Native rough fish.
Native rough fish, coarse
Expert.
fish extraordinaire.
It will soon be native fish.
But there is so much to be had there that lost opportunities.
Yeah, but why can't we just? I got thinking about this through this whole conversation. Why can't we just promote it as it is? Because even though there's no laws, there's no laws. Doesn't matter. You still go fishing for it.
No, it's not a question. But people won't seem to not get interested in something unless it's put
Regulated
on that
or-
next pedestal.
Yeah,
you know
maybe,
what I
eh?
mean? It's got to be regulated. It's
Maybe.
got to have an open and closed season. It's got to have a limit. If it doesn't have a limit, then it can't be any good.
Yeah,
Right? That's kind of
Yeah.
the mentality. If there's no limit, it can't be good.
yeah.
And I think that's where
Yeah,
once
that would
these
certainly
things-
help for sure.
Yeah, once they're regulated, then people say, "Oh, wait a minute, I can only have one of those." Right?
Yeah, and then you get locals, like Tyler or some young dudes that are slaying suckers and throwing that on their little YouTube channel or on their Instagram, and all of a sudden other kids are seeing it and saying, "Oh my God, these things! What is this? Oh, there's the regulations. That's a white sucker in there, and he's catching his limit of them, and yeah, it could become popular."
I didn't ask him, but we should have asked him, I suppose. Would have been his favorite presentation for sucker.
Got to be a worm.
I would think so. Eh?
I think so. I don't know.
Well, that's
I don't-
something we can ask him next time around.
Damn, worm's good for everything, eh? Worm on the bottom is good for pretty much everything.
I see.
Including those
I
quillback.
see our good friend Nicholas, keeper of the store, is waiting to.
Keeper of the store, keeper of the store. He will be rejoicing. Look, he's giving us a
I
cut
think
there.
he changed his mind.
But he changed his mind about the merch and
Obviously.
stuff. Okay.
Anyways, that are it, folks. Want to
So
remind everybody about fishingcanada.com, the ongoing forever contest. That's what we'll call it, the forever contest.
I love it.
The forever
That is awesome,
contest.
buddy.
That's the new
That is,
new name of that, the forever contest.
Forever contest platform for sure.
All you have to do is go to fishingcanada.com, enter the contest that is there, and you too will have an opportunity to win goodies like Garmin sonar units, live scope we've done,
portable units,
outboard motors,
yes, like Mercury 99s,
coolers, camping equipment. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on.
Do we need to read this J&B cycle?
Why
thing,
don't we
or-
do that? It's there.
They're a huge supporter of us, and we'd like to be a huge supporter of theirs, right? So
Absolutely.
J&B Cycle, your outdoor superstore. J&B Cycle Marine, they're Ontario's largest Prince Crab Mercury dealer, largest in Ontario. They've been customer driven since 1970, my friend. Pretty
Great
awesome.
store if you're in the Timmins and or Sudbury
Yes.
part of the world.
And
You
or
can-
just at your desk at a computer.
Well, I was going to say, if not, then go to a computer and check them out. Full line of outboard motors, boats, boat packages. I talking to Rob the other day because I haven't been to the Timmins store since actually I was there before Rob even owned it.
Come on. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's how long it's been. But anyways, he
So
says
that's
now
earlier
that,
than 1970. You were in there in the 60s.
At any given time, he has everything. He says there is not a thing that we don't have in the store. Over the course of a 12-month period, they have everything. I said, what do you mean you have everything? You have like...
He seems like that kind of guy. He just seems very efficient, very customer-driven, business-driven, getting everything done right and doing it, the right way. So,
by the way, just to correct you, G&B Cycle was there before Rob.
oh, I got you.
You got me?
Okay,
I don't know when
customer-driven.
Rob came along. But the
okay, I
store
apologize,
was
Rob.
originally opened in 1970.
I don't want to age Rob.
No, you're trying to
because he's a
embarrass
young
me in
guy.
front of my audience. And the thing is,
No, I thought that was impressive.
He's been doing that for, 40 years now. And every time, though, if you noticed, I pull out of it. Just as it looks like I'm going to jump off the ledge, I pull myself out of it. Just like I did just now.
I thought I was putting you in heroic status being there in 1969.
No, you're trying to make me an old fart, is what you're trying to do.
I think they know we are old farts by now. I think they do know that.
That's
okay?
what you're trying to do.
Our audience.
Anyways, it's JB Cycle.
You old cantankerous bastard. What's the matter with you?
J and B Cycle and Marine is
That's
the
right.
name, but if you're looking for them online, it's just JB.
Cycle.com.
Cycle.com. JB Cycle. Go there right now. Do me a favor.
Please.
Go there right now, jbcycle.com, and check them out. And I don't know if you're so inclined, but I don't know, message them. Say that you're there. Say you went there because you heard it on this program.
That would be nice. That'd be awesome, actually.
Rob will do something nice for you if you do that.
Oh, well, now you're... Oh, here we go.
Guaranteed.
Here we go.
J and B Cycle.
Yeah.
All right, now that are it, I believe.
One more thing, gentlemen.
Oh.
If you would look behind you,
Yes.
you have new products and the samples have arrived. So
Well,
you
that's
have
what
those
I
very
thought you
short-
were.
Well, I just needed to come at the right time.
Don't we have any samples here to show
You're going to
people?
have them right now.
Oh.
But that's what I thought he was going to do. I don't understand.
know. I don't
I'm
get
so
it. But
confused.
anyways-
Peter, I am so confused. Please help me.
So we do have this new product line at Fishing Canada store. So shop.fishingcanada.com or fishingcanada.com. Amongst all the greatness that we've already had there forever and ever, amen. Look at this
this
new
is a
greatness
beauty.
we got going on here. Like, look at
That
this
is a
stuff.
beauty.
Look at this. These are we won't open them up.
I
but
feel
these
like
are
the shopping channel. You know how you go?
Yes. And Angelo, look at this.
And
This beautiful
this, too,
medium
is,
rainbow.
but I'm predicting. I like going out on a limb, as you know, Peter. Sometimes that limb breaks and snaps, and I end
You've
up
been on a few broken limbs in your day.
on my butt. But
Yeah.
I'm going to predict that this one is
Oh, look at
going to be
that.
our number one seller.
Okay, see, the color of that is not the same color as that.
Well,
Okay, what's
it's the
going
light.
on here?
It's the light. This is the actual color. It's caramel. This
I
is
like that color
the
better
new
than that
walleye.
Yes.
The new walleye hoodie. It is
Yes.
spectacular. And for those of you who are more into salmon and trout, we have the wonderful
Or denim,
Chinook.
denim colors and stuff like that.
See
Muted.
the Chinook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
This is the
confused because
grade.
I was told by Nick to make sure that we leave a little bit of time at the end of the program because he would like to come up and bring these new articles in so that we could talk about it at length. And then, as we were signing off, I remembered. And
Well, he was doing
like this, like that, like I have no idea what the hell he was doing. But anyways, only
He's
will
talking about us
ever
now,
know.
but we
We
can't
just
hear him.
forgot
because
something else too, apparently, in my absence.
We have to do what?
What happened?
Sorry?
Bonus code.
Oh, sure. Why not? Why don't we do that too? There we go. So, anyways, did I mention that I'm predicting that to be number one? And
I think you've drawn even the interest around it. I think you're already won that one hands down. I think there's just people are showing interest in that so much. That
we would like to interrupt this program and bring you the much anticipated bonus code for the latest Fishing Canada giveaways that we just mentioned on fishingcanada.com.
we're not interrupting the program. We're just going with the program, aren't we?
I think we were supposed to read this earlier. I'm a
Well,
little embarrassed right now, but
don't be, buddy. We screw up all the time. What the hell?
Week's-
We're allowed some freebies in a week, aren't we?
let me address that camera there for Vova because he says to me sometimes, he says, if you want to talk to the audience and have more of a personal contact with them, you look right there.
So there or there for moi.
Yeah, I'm going
there
to go.
or there for
I'm
toi.
going to go right there and
Pour
say
toi.
this week's code is sucker.
I love it.
Sucker.
Can you dig that, sucker?
That's all upper caps apparently. SUCKER sucker. Go to the code section of the free bonus code section of the giveaway, and you will receive not one but 10. See that?
Oh my.
10 free entries.
Pretty generous, eh?
I
Is
thought
that
so.
Dean or is that you or who is that? Who
It wasn't me. I
It
have
used to be
nothing to do
100.
with it. Used to be
Used to be 100.
He
Somebody
cut it
cheaped
down.
out. Dean cheaped it out.
I
You used to
cheaped
give
out.
100 away, and he cheaped you out, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's cheating the audience, cheating the
Anyways.
bidders.
Sucker is this week's code for those of you who are following.
I guess if everybody gets 10 instead of 100, it doesn't make any difference, right? You just do
No,
the,
you
it's
just
just
set
the same
the number.
order. Yeah,
It's a number.
Just get
It's
your
like
10.
age.
Get your 10 in there and done. Don't talk about age
Age,
anymore. God, we already got in a
length,
fight about it.
height,
Length, oh boy, don't talk
height,
about length with me.
weight.
Height, oh boy.
It's just a number.
Ay,
Means
ay, ay.
nothing.
That's true. That is true.
On behalf of the entire crew, that's Vova over there.
Vova.
He's the guy who's walking around with his hand
By
in
the
his
way,
pocket.
it's
all the time.
Vova.
He looks like the
In
owner.
case everybody, just to let everybody know, when we introduce Vova, anywhere we go, we have to say it 38,242 times before they get it because it's Vova, V-O-V-A, Vova. It must be. We must not say it well or something because everybody, what? Hey,
Remember
it's a
that
problem.
name. Remember that
It's
name.
a problem.
I think it's
Vova.
worth
We need to
noting.
give it can we get him a new nickname?
I asked him to come on the show the other day. And he turned me down. He went on somebody else's podcast. I know that. And I asked.
He turned you down?
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So, by the way, I asked earlier today, even the Countess. I said, "You need to come on.
Oh my, that's
You
right.
need to come on the podcast," and she turned me down too. I remember that.
I wonder why these people, these good people of the high, maybe it's their high stature. Maybe they're a little above us. Maybe
well,
I don't know
what it is.
Vova and the
We can
Countess.
certainly fix that. He is Nick over there. He's on
Come
the
on
phone.
now.
He's busy right now.
Yeah.
And of course, Dean.
Bitcoin.
Come on now.
Dean, the dancing machine over there. He's Peter Bowman. I'm Angela. Thanks to you and everybody, even that looks like you, for joining us today. Talk to you next week.
Vova.
This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio has been brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Centre, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, rent the boat, own the memories. J&B Cycle and Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment. And Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures.